wish Mother was here.
This is the Candyland Hour for all good children. The orchestra will play our theme song.
You know that song, don't you?
Sure I do.
Well, then sing it.
Hello, welcome to Pursuit Table Talk. This is Pastor Mike Hofer. I'd like to welcome y'all back for episode 12. I just want you to know, I thought that episode 11 would drop itself. I thought that we advanced so far in technology in the world.
Siri is failing us.
That we could record it and it would just automatically drop itself.
That'd be legit.
And totally forgot about dropping episode 11 on Friday. Had a lot going on in life and it's all good. But just because that happened, we're going to drop 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Back to back. Thursday and Friday.
Episodeception.
Episode Inception, sort of.
Wait.
Episode 11 and 12 all in 1 week.
Buy one, get
So
one
Thursday,
free.
whenever
Friday.
they hear this, won't they already know that there's been 2 drops?
They sure
Thursday,
will.
Friday?
They will already heard
Oh.
episode
Oh
11
gosh, that's hurting my
before
head.
they hear this one. It's almost like a Kanye tweet.
Time paradox.
Hey, you're stealing my thunder, man. You're stealing my
That's,
thunder.
that's how crazy it is. It's a paradox.
I'm back.
Yes, right. Noah is back. Noah left us last week. He got all superstar on us and
He
went
was
and
actually here for
toured-
half of it.
Yeah, I was actually here, technically. I just wasn't here at the start.
That's right. Noah went and toured the country with a worship band, wrote 37 worship songs, went multi-platinum, and then came back to us all in 1 week. So welcome back, Noah.
All
Thank
one
you.
day,
Noah
really.
B.
It's good to be back.
And you guys cannot see our setup today, but I had to show everybody that Superman was better than Goku. Bought 2 action figures, and of course Superman's bigger.
Yeah.
Goku's
He is like so
Goku's a little
tall.
tiny midget.
He has the longest calves I've ever seen.
And the first thing Superman did with both of them out of the box is kicked Goku right in the face. That's what happened.
And I
He
can't
has
show
a-
you what Goku did to
stepped
Did he do
Superman.
it on his own?
Face.
Did he do it
On his own.
Oh.
And
Because
I
toys
can't-
come alive.
I can't show you what
Story.
Goku did to Superman after that. So,
That's right. Because nothing happened.
you know, I leave for 1 day, and Mike starts talking trash while I'm away. You know, whatever. He wants to be a child. He's a youth pastor after all.
I'm a child. That's what I do. I'm a child
Always
of the
a
living
child.
king.
I'm still a Batman fan.
Yeah.
I'm with you there, though. I'm with you
understand
there,
that.
Evan.
I don't
That's something we
understand
agree
that.
on.
I don't truly like Batman. I think he's a
He's
spoiled
so
rich brat.
But the
Dark
movies were
and
good.
He's
The Dark Knight movies were very
depressing.
good.
But I like that little bit of depression.
Batman.
I got that.
I mean, dude,
feel
I
in me.
get it. Your parents died. Move
It's
on.
a movie full of depression and anxiety.
Not in all of the movies.
Injustice.
It's called Dark Knight for a reason.
Yeah,
Are you
that's true.
expecting
That's
like
true.
rainbows?
That's 100% true.
Actually, I've never seen that movie.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
all right.
gosh.
I don't even like Batman.
Step away.
This is-
now
It's
give me
100% true. I will tell you this.
give me the old version Batman and I will watch that.
I'll tell you that she
Michael
likes the Tim
Keaton.
Burton
the one
Batman.
where he's like in
The
a
Michael
speedo
Keaton.
over his clothes.
He likes it. She likes
No,
the
the
Michael,
Michael
Keaton.
Keaton version.
I think Michael Keaton probably was the best Batman. As far as
He didn't
character
talk
goes,
funny.
the voice is too much.
Oh,
It's
I loved
way too
it. I
much.
loved it.
It's awful. So much terrible.
Where's Rachel?
So terrible. Such an awful thing to do. So dumb. So dumb. It's because
I love it, dude.
it's weak.
This
When
is
you-
quickly turning into the superhero cast.
That's okay.
With
I'm
each
okay with that.
progressing episode.
I'm okay with that. When you have to change your voice to make yourself be
More
something,
manly.
that's just ridiculous.
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
That's is that the Lego movie?
No, that's from the Dark Knight
It's
movie.
Oh.
literally from the movie.
Oh,
like that's how
man.
ridiculous
The
the,
cops,
voice was.
But
cops
it
try
was
to
so
stage
good.
themselves like Batman, and they're like, "What separates you from us?" And he's like, "I'm not wearing hockey pants."
It
See,
just sounds like it's
that
from the Lego
seals
movie.
it for me.
Okay.
Michael Keaton is certainly the best one.
So what about the Flash that
I'll-
has
I'll
like
say
a
this.
voice modifier?
I'll say this.
And
The Dark Knight movies were the best Batman
Yeah,
movies.
yeah.
But that Batman was not the best Batman.
I'll give that to you.
yeah,
Michael
okay.
Keaton was the better
I'll
Batman.
give that to you.
I think. That's my opinion.
Okay.
I think Michael Keaton was the better Batman. Just
Yeah.
the character Batman. But the Dark Knight movies were
Yeah, they
far
were
and
great.
away
They were
better
good.
than
Yeah,
anything.
they were so good.
They're really good. Just the trilogy itself. It was written perfect. Heath Ledger was out of this
Yeah,
world.
dude. best villain of all time.
I mean, the movies themselves were gold.
I can't watch that movie.
Which
It's
one?
okay.
The Heath Ledger movie.
Why?
The one
That's
where
the best one.
Because it's too
It's
depressing.
great. Yeah, that's probably the best
I
Batman.
love that guy. He was awesome. Like, he was
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
amazing
Yeah, he was good.
talent.
Yeah,
And it's just
It is a depressing
final.
movie, but
It's just
it's
final.
good.
yeah.
The third
Anyway.
one was really good too.
It's
No,
final.
I liked the third one. I think it was underrated.
It's final, kind of like Infinity Wars.
Yeah.
Oh, spoiler alert!
Which I don't.
We're not
This kind of ties into my
talking
side
about it.
moment.
I'm
but-
just gonna step
Spoiler
away
alert!
for a
Nobody
second.
dies in the Infinity Wars.
Okay.
We're not
Yeah.
talking
all right.
about it.
All right.
Batman dies.
We're not
Yeah,
talking.
Batman. Han Solo
Shoot!
dies.
Shoot!
Han Solo gets stabbed by his son in the Infinity Wars.
Hey, I think they're the same universe.
That's
Star Wars,
right.
Hey,
Marvel.
there is a meme, or there's like a video out that somebody tries to say that they're the same universe.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
really weird.
I love those crazy theories.
Yeah, there's
though.
crazy fan theories. I think in the Infinity Wars, actually, Han Solo gets killed by Batman
Yeah.
while trying to save My Little Pony.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
While
in
riding
Infinity
a
That's
Wars.
kind of-
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
It's,
Right.
That's kind of like it's so crazy.
That's what you feel like when you leave
It's
the movie.
really what you
That's
feel
100%
like
true.
because it's so out there.
Yeah.
Okay, this is not a spoiler alert, but
No.
I will tell you this. I have not watched a movie in years. Maybe since I saw E.T. when I was 9 years old in the
Right.
movie theater.
Old.
That I am super old, and this is how long it's been. And of course, I was 9, so
Did you cry?
I was super in my feels. But
Aw.
I haven't had a movie move. No, I didn't cry when I watched Infinity Wars.
Okay.
But I haven't had a movie that I saw so many people moved to so many different emotions.
Yeah.
Huh.
Ever maybe
The
like
entire room as a unified body.
yes. When I saw E.T. when I was 9, obviously I was 9. I was in my feels. Everybody left that movie theater crying because it was a big deal back then. That was like state of the art. It was everybody loved E.T. and it was like. And it was just one of the movies everybody's moved to emotion. I hadn't seen a movie like that since then. Like I've seen some good movies, really, really, really good movies. And it might have been just the crowd we were with. Like
Maybe.
the movie theater was packed.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a seat in the house.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I heard every emotion from. There was people sitting next to us that cussed
Yep.
at the movie screen.
Yep.
There was
They were yelling. They were cheering. They
my
were
13-year-old
gasping.
daughter cried for 30 minutes.
Seriously.
The
The woman in front of her was trying to
woman in
console
front of her was like, "It's okay, we're all friends." here."
Happy place. Happy
I
place.
lost my mind. I was like, "What in the world did I just watch?"
And
It was
again,
so
you were
good.
told it's
Dude,
okay. We
you
all
guys
need
are messing
counseling.
me up. I want to see it.
It
now.
was so crazy.
I'll go
Like,
watch it with
that's-
you.
I would
Let's go.
certainly watch it
Oh,
again.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I would watch it again. in a
Yeah.
heartbeat.
I could.
Oh.
That is something I
Yeah.
will go pay again to see in the
Yeah,
theater.
our man Noah Owens just went and saw it tonight, and I asked him, I was like, "Why did you not go with Noah again?" Because I would have went like in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
But
was so good.
I spoke at a banquet tonight for the Methodist home. It was really cool, but I would certainly go and watch it again.
Yeah. It was
no
so
question.
good.
That's how good it was. And I haven't watched
Like
the
I
movie.
wish we could talk about it in detail, but
Me
it's
too,
literally
but you
so
can't. No,
good
you
that
can't.
that I don't want to spoil.
You gotta
literally
wait at least.
anything.
You gotta wait at least another month.
You know-
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The only thing you can do is get with somebody who's already watched it.
Yeah, yeah.
And get in a corner and process together.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
all
what
you
me.
can
That's
do.
what me and Tim did the
That's
day after we
100%.
watched it. We were like on the way in the car together. We were like,
And you
"Dude,
just
did
gotta
watch it
make
again
sure
anymore?"
nobody else is seeing it and standing around. That's how good it is.
Yeah.
We had to
Yeah.
do it in the.
Don't
We had to
stress
talk
me
about it
out.
in the car
Yeah.
on the way home
Yes.
because it was just
Yeah.
so much emotion.
Oh, yeah.
And we all had to
It
just.
was like we
talk
got to go
through
see a
it.
counselor after we left the movie.
What?
Like that's
This
how
is
bad it
scary.
was.
me.
But at the
This
same
movie
time,
is
Evan,
scaring
at
me.
the same time, everyone in the movie theater said, "Don't talk about it to anyone
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
hasn't
it was
seen
really
it."
cool.
It was just an understood
Yeah.
feeling
Yeah.
because we wanted everyone to
We were-
experience what we did.
Yeah.
We were leaving the theater and some guy, like us four were walking together and we were still just like talking pretty loud. Like, what in the world just happened? And some guy drove by in his car and he leaned out the window and said, "Did you guys just watch Infinity Wars?" And we were like, "Yeah." And he was like, I hate that movie. And then he said some explicits, and he was like, he was so mad.
He was just angry.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, it was. You could tell he was laughing and stuff, but it was like.
What they did was genius.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
it was straight
And
up
the thing
genius.
is,
Aren't
like,
you excited to see it now?
The thing is, like, for me, like, me and my dad have been keeping up with the MCU since
Yeah.
movie 1, which was
Of
Iron
course.
Man 1.
Yep.
Of course.
And so it's been 10 years
Yeah.
in the making for something
Yeah.
like this. And
Yeah.
when you've
Yeah.
been watching a movie series for that long,
Yeah.
Yep.
it's just so worth it.
I'm
I
just
mean-
telling you, this is the only thing they could have done because they've teased Thanos for like 8 years.
Yeah. Since
And-
Avengers.
Yeah, and finally, like he shows up.
Yeah.
And if he
It's
would
amazing.
if he would have been like a little,
Cameo.
Just a little
li-
blip.
Yeah, if he would have been a nothing, like just defeat him really easily.
Yeah.
It would have ruined it, and
Yeah.
it was
It was so good.
so good. It was
So-
classic.
I thought it was just exciting to see. I mean,
it was genius. That's all.
See-
That's all you
see-
can say.
characters that you hadn't seen in a long time. Like I'm like, wait a second, where have I seen that?
Mhm.
Oh, and Mike's having to give me, you know.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
yes.
that's
And just all the
from-
different movies
Yeah.
put
the
together.
one part
finally.
where they brought the guy back from way back, and you're like,
Oh, yeah.
what?
I think I've seen maybe 2 of all the Marvel movies.
What?
See,
Dude.
I
Oh,
know.
dude.
I
You
was
gotta
deprived
catch
of
up.
childhood.
You
First
gotta
then.
catch up, dude.
Because
The
it
only
won't
one
be
I've
watching
never,
you.
the only one I've never seen. I'm so ashamed to say this.
Black Panther.
Is we just didn't make it to the movie theater to see Black Panther.
Ah.
Like we've been
Yeah.
in super busy
Well,
mode the last couple
yeah,
months.
yeah.
Well,
We
the thing
missed
is,
it.
to watch Infinity War, you really didn't need
No.
to
You
watch
did,
Black
and,
Panther.
and that was one of
No.
the things I saw a list
Probably in
yesterday.
production.
I saw a list the other day. I think it was yesterday on Facebook where somebody was saying these are the 7 things like
yeah.
we hated about Infinity Wars.
What?
And first of all, I was like, if I find this person, I'll punch him in the throat.
Yeah.
And then second, I read it because you're like, oh, okay, let's see what you
Yeah.
got to
Let's
say.
see if they actually have a logical
And
argument.
6 of the 7 were ridiculous.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, that's the
But-
way it normally is.
But the one that did make sense was they said it really didn't build on, first of all, the Avengers movie prior, Civil War, where they all got really
Well, that
mad at
wasn't-
each other.
That wasn't an Avengers. That was Captain America.
Right, it's Captain America. But it was the
It
movie prior with all the
did.
Avengers in it.
Yeah.
And it's like
I feel like it
Civil
did, though.
War, they
I
left
did.
them all really mad at each other.
and
Yeah.
they were still not.
And it really
There
didn't
is-
build on it. And then it said it kind of left out what happened in Black Panther, kind
Oh,
of.
see, I don't know anything
Well,
about
But
that.
I didn't see Black Panther, so I couldn't say that was like really what
As a
happened.
person who has seen them all, that person's being ridiculous.
Yeah. See, I thought
That's
was
just
6
someone
were-
trying to hate, and which
Yeah.
is gonna
Uh-huh.
have. You could literally
It's
have a
clickbait at
perfect
that
movie,
point. Yeah.
and someone is gonna find something to complain.
Well, that same article, if you read all the like comments at the end, not one of them liked the article. They were all like,
Yes.
"This is the stupidest nitpicky article I've ever seen
Yeah.
in my life." Like all the comments said that.
It's just people.
Okay, so
So,
let's-
having to
side
find something to
moments,
be angry
maybe?
about.
Let's
Yeah,
get
side
off of that
moments.
before we actually ruin the movie for somebody.
Yeah. We're getting too close.
Everything we
Mine's
said so
30.
far should just pull you into it because it's
Yeah.
just that good.
Can I go?
Noah and I want to go because
Yeah.
it has to do with.
It
our
has
side
to do with
moment.
Infinity War, but not the actual movie.
Okay,
just the
Noah,
night.
you're up, man. Side
Okay.
moment of the week.
So, like the Hofers, I went to the opening night, but I went to the later one. I went to the 10:25, and so we sit down in the IMAX theater. We went to the IMAX one. This huge IMAX theater, just jam-packed full of people, and the previews start, and we go through about 4 previews, and I think they show like 6 previews before a movie or something, a big movie like this, and we get to a Jurassic World preview, and a big old, movie voice comes over the audio speaker, and it's like, "Now, to optimize your movie watching experience, put on your 3D glasses." And this
What?
IMAX theater was not a 3D screening. No, and the whole IMAX theater full of people all together, and one voice went, and we watched this whole like almost 5-minute long Jurassic World preview, just blurry screen, and everyone's like, what do we do?
And nobody had
And
the
you could see
glasses.
people running in, running out, and just like, and I checked the ticket, and it was for the IMAX theater
Yeah,
was
yeah.
set for a 2D movie, so someone literally
yeah.
put in the wrong disc or tape or whatever they use now in
Oh,
movie
yeah.
That's
theaters.
funny.
And then finally
I'm
they
pretty
cut
sure
it
it's not
off.
a disc or a tape, but that's okay.
Yeah, finally they cut it off, and there's like 30 seconds of just black screen, and everyone's just like, okay. And then it rewinds all the way back, like 2-3 previews, and we have to watch those 3 previews over again, and then another 2. So it
And-
extended the length of the previews by like 30 minutes, but it was still totally worth it. But
And it
as
was
soon
already
as
a
it,
3-hour movie.
as soon as it said put on your 3D glasses, I was like, ooh, I have a
Uh-oh.
sigh moment for the
You're
week.
like, did I walk in the wrong theater?
Well,
I
that's
don't know what
happened before. We've
Yeah.
walked in and we've bought tickets for the wrong theater before.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this.
At least they didn't play like parts of the movie, and you're all sitting there.
Oh
like,
my gosh, yeah,
Oh my
that
gosh,
would have
I
been
can't see
horrible.
this. Like, that
This
would've
is
been
a
bad.
quick funny story. Years ago, when we were younger, we went to go see Narnia Prince Caspian in the theaters, or Dawn Treader, which was a Narnia movie, and they started playing like this rated R like couples movie trailer with all this different stuff going on, and our parents were like, yeah, that was interesting. That was a
was
big
the wrong
oops.
theater.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. That's not Lucy.
That's funny.
That's hilarious.
Oh,
Okay,
That's good.
so my sigh moment was also on premiere night. We were so excited to go see this movie, but of course, the movie theater that we go to is right next to the going out of business Toys R Us store. So
Rip.
Mike's like, "Oh, we still have so much time." So we
You're
go.
not gonna use this as
Oh, we go. No, I got it. There's a point. So we go in there, and of course,
I know
this
what
is
she's
where
gonna say. Yeah.
Let
this
her
is
say
where
it.
we get.
She's ridiculous.
No,
Are
you
you
have
gonna
no
cut
idea
it
what I'm gonna
out?
say. Don't
I
interrupt.
wanna
me.
Is this gonna
hear
be
it.
cut out?
I want to hear it.
No,
It's
this
gonna
is
be
where we
edited.
get Superman and Goku, and he's so interested in
Oh
getting
my
these things. So
gosh.
anyway, we get to the theater, and because we did not go straight to the movie theater, we get seats in the second row to the front. Okay,
Oh, wow.
so
got
we're
the
in this
broccoli seats.
humongous screen in the second row, and I did not bring my glasses, and I seriously saw the entire movie in a blur. So I can't wait to see it again because I
So
will
you
sit
actually
in
know
the
what
back of
happened?
the theater, and I will here. This is what really was happening was I'm seeing things happen, but I have to physically move my head to see them. I'm getting myself dizzy. I hear the woos and everything going on. I'm going, what are they wooing about? What are they? Oh, now I see it. It was like-
So you had like a 5-second
yeah,
delay
there was a
behind
5-second
everything.
delay to my eyeballs.
Way to go,
So
Mike. See what
that
you
was
did?
my sign
It
moment.
wasn't my fault. The devil made me do it.
Oh,
Dude, I have to
Okay.
go back and watch your message online. I haven't
watched
gotten
it
to
today.
see it yet.
that was really good.
It's decent.
All right, who's next?
Evan, side
Oh,
moment.
my side moment this week. It's a little old, just because it's about a week old. But Kanye, his Twitter's just been a mess this past week. Oh my gosh, just everyone has been just losing it, and it's just been so funny to watch. I'm not trying to take a political stance on it. I just thought it was funny, the world reaction. He lost 9 million followers in 10 minutes because he posted a picture with a Trump hat on that he eventually got signed, and like was just it was,
He
it
was
was so
hanging out.
funny.
He was hanging out with the president. and
Yeah.
My
that's when-
question is, how did he ever have 9 million followers?
Oh, he's got
Yeah,
way more than that.
he's
He's got
got,
like
like-
That's
20 million
insane.
followers.
Yeah,
that
he's got
guy is
20
crazy.
There's some
20
famous
million
people that have a
something.
lot of followers.
Yeah, he's got
on
like
Twitter.
20 million followers or something on
The
Twitter.
dude, then someone on a radio show then quoted or supposedly quoted Kanye saying he said he loves Trump, and Kanye didn't necessarily agree that he said that, so he said something on Twitter saying, "I'm about to drop a song that's gonna address this guy's concerns with some fire verses with a ton of fire emojis." He drops a song, and at the end of the song, it starts just saying, "Scoop-diddy poop, scoop scoop boo whoopity poop." It was just the weirdest song. Him just sitting there saying "Scoopity whoop,
Scoopity whoop.
and he's just
Scoop, woody whoop.
a master marketer.
Troll.
It is so funny.
That's something a troll would do.
It is. He is just a hilarious weird guy. Oh my gosh, Kanye's Twitter is my side moment of the week.
You know how to fix that?
How do I fix that?
Don't have a Twitter.
Hey, I don't have a Twitter. I
He-
just saw that online.
I was
and I
gonna
was
say,
like,
how
I'm
you
okay.
just had to bring back Twitter on your phone.
Yeah,
to
no,
read the
I
thing.
was doing my project quotation marks, and I was just like, I just saw something like music. I'm always looking at music. I just saw something about Kanye, and so I just ended up delving into this whole story. It was just so funny.
You fell down the rabbit hole.
It was so funny.
Here's the thing. Here's my thing about Kanye. I don't agree with a lot of stuff he says, obviously. I don't agree with his political opinions. And by the way, Kanye West, even after he lost supposedly 9 million followers, still has 28.1 million followers on Twitter. So
he had 30
I
something
think he's
before.
going to be okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, he may not be okay. But here's the thing. I'll tell you this.
It's a mental breakdown.
No, well, here's the thing. One, Kanye West is a very smart guy. He's not a dummy. The man didn't get 30 million Twitter followers by accident. He hasn't sold 100 million records by accident. He's a smart dude. He knows how to play the system. He is getting free publicity from every major media outlet in the country right now. Free. Didn't pay a dime for it. Not even a penny for it. He's getting publicity that would cost the normal person millions of dollars to get.
Yeah.
And by doing that, all he has to do is have a PR firm come out in 2 months and go, Kanye West had a little bit of a breakdown. He'd like to apologize and move forward. Here's his new album. 30 million records sold. Like it's magic.
He's
It is
dropping new
a
albums soon,
because here's
too.
the thing: we are so fickle today when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
And
Oh my gosh.
I was just reading this the other day. I want to remember who said it, but it was they asked Kid Rock, how have you
Dang.
stayed away from scandal your whole career? And he said this, and it's true because here's the thing about Kid Rock. Kid Rock is a massive conservative. He believes in guns. He's anti-homosexual. He's got a humongous conservative agenda, and yet he's never been crucified in the media. And they ask him, like, how do you stay away from scandal? He just says this. He says, I say what I believe because it's my conviction. He said, and then I'm silent for 24 hours. He says, because then people move on to the next thing.
Yep.
That's how fickle we are. And Kanye's the same thing. He is getting free publicity right now. If he believes it or not, he may believe everything he's saying, and that's okay. It's his right to believe that stuff. But he's getting free publicity.
It is so
And his
funny.
next album is going to sell 10 million records. Like it's going to be crazy, and he's going to make them millions of dollars, and people will forget all about it the next time he drops a fire track.
Yeah. That doesn't say
Scoopity
scoopity
poop.
poopity.
And that's why he just dropped a track today that says scoopity
It
poopity.
was- it
So
was
people will
wild.
listen to it and go, they're going to talk about this on every podcast on the planet right now.
Yeah.
He
And
got
our
you.
little 12 series podcast
Shoot.
is already
He
talking
done
about
got us.
Kanye. Yeah, he's WWE and
We've
everybody.
been duped.
That's right. We've been scoopity pooped.
Scoopity
That's what we've been.
poop.
That's what we've been. And
Scoopity whoop.
but I have read. I just actually read some of his tweets,
It
and
was-
because I do have Twitter,
yeah.
because I'm old, and I
do
have
not.
Twitter,
And you're
I have
old if you have
Facebook, I have
Facebook.
Instagram.
Twitter's the hip one.
I still have
actually.
MySpace. Get off me. But he did say he said some good stuff today, though. To be
Yeah.
honest with you,
He always saying
the
good
big one
stuff.
they're killing him right now was, he said slavery is a choice. It was a choice, and TMZ got him to say it, and now they're putting it out there. And he's saying what I wasn't talking about was slavery 400 years ago. What I'm talking about is slavery today.
Yeah.
Like to continue to act like you're still in slavery is a choice. And he said until our people, he said we were in slavery 400 years ago, 400 years. There's no reason for us to be in slavery 400 more years in our mind.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
That's
real
huge.
talk.
Yeah. That's a good
But he
point.
says it and people are like,
They twist it.
oh, he said slavery is a choice.
Yeah.
So you see how it just messes up a little bit.
Yeah.
Like he's
like
a
a game of
smart
telephone.
dude. Kanye
He is
is
a
a
smart
smart
guy.
dude, man. And so that's
He's
my
got a weird
that's
head,
my
though.
thing. That's, you know why he's got a weird head? Did you know this? Like when he first got signed to Rockefeller Records,
Mm-hmm.
that was his first big deal was with Rockefeller. And as soon as he got signed, he went out and bought a motorcycle and he wrecked it. And he shattered the whole right side of his face.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
And he had to have it. He had to have surgery reconstruction. His very first single is called "Through the Wire." It's when Kanye was actually really, really good.
Oh, his
But he
jaw was wired shut, wasn't it?
literally dropped it while his jaw was wired shut.
Dang.
You can even tell.
And he sings, he raps on it with his jaw wired shut. And the song's called Through the Wire. And if you listen to it, you can hear him. He's talking like this a little bit because his jaw is wired shut. But he does such a great job. And you go check it out. It's a really good
But that
song.
messes up a lot of things in your head.
Yeah.
Jostles things a little
Well,
bit.
Kanye is he's not stupid, man. Don't count him as somebody that's stupid. He's super smart. Even if you don't believe with everything, even if you don't believe in everything he says, and you think he says dumb stuff, he knows what he's doing, man.
Hey,
Or
them
at least his
Yeezys,
publicity team
he's
does.
getting a ton of
That's
money
right.
from those.
Oh, he's getting
Easy
killed.
money.
Yeah, he's getting easy money right now.
What's your sigh moment?
Mine, I think my biggest sigh moment was that Thanos,
We've come full circle.
Quit.
spoiler alert.
Stop.
Whoa,
Stop.
whoa, whoa, wait, no. Run, Evan, run.
Evan's running.
He gone.
I'm just playing. I'm not going to talk about
He
the movie. Evan
He's
ran out.
locked in.
Evan,
He's locked in.
Evan is
You
trying
can't
to
get
leave
away.
the building. Evan's the only one out of us four that hasn't seen Infinity War,
It's okay,
Infinity War
Evan.
yet. I'm not going to spoil it, man. I'm not going to
That
spoil it
was-
for you.
Just quit.
I'm not going to spoil it for
He
you.
didn't tell you
Spoil anything?
Uh-uh.
Dude, no.
Spoiler alert,
Dude.
Thanos dies, though.
No.
No,
He
I'm
No.
just-
No.
Really?
Maybe he does.
You believe anything he says?
Some-
Don't
Sometimes he
believe
does.
anything Mike says.
Sometimes he doesn't.
Don't.
Sometimes he does.
Who
Count
knows?
everything as false.
I will tell you this. Spoiler alert.
No.
Ant-Man and Wasp is coming out in a couple weeks.
Yes, it
Oh.
is.
And
Yeah.
the trailer looked phenomenal.
I haven't seen the trailer yet.
Oh, it's so dope.
It just came out today, I think.
yeah,
it's
it dropped
so dope.
today.
I didn't watch it.
I haven't
My
seen it
side
yet.
moment is we can't talk about
Oh, yeah.
Infinity Wars because I really
It really
want
is
to.
painful,
Yeah.
actually,
I
that
really
we
want
can't
to.
talk about it.
I feel like I'm holding a bomb.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I'm just
and
gonna
you're
accidentally
waiting for
let
it to
something
go off.
slip.
Right. We're now getting sued by Kanye
Yeah, this is
West.
copyright music, Evan.
We're now getting sued
Hey,
by Kanye West because
we're
we
just-
played Poopity Scoop.
I don't think we would get
We
copyrighted.
That
just-
song
on
was
Tiny Little
owned
Clip.
and written and produced by Kanye West Inc. Don't sue us, Kanye.
Please don't sue us.
We kind of like you. We love you.
Well, they do, but
Moving on.
All right, let's go on to our. We're gonna do some book reviews today. We haven't done book reviews
Yes.
for a while.
finally.
Yeah, so we're finally gonna do some book reviews. And one of these kids is not like the other. I'm not sure I have a book to review. So.
No.
Uh-oh.
Wait
What?
a second.
Whoa, wait, what?
Are you serious?
You better come up with something.
Hey,
Are
hey,
you being
where's
serious
where's
right
the
now?
fire and
I have
pitchforks?
notes.
That's right.
Listen.
I'm actually gonna.
Listen, I have been stressing out about this.
I got one. I'm just kidding.
Oh.
I'm actually gonna review the comic book Infinity Wars.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just
Cheater.
playing.
Just
okay,
playing.
He's about to go in Spark Notes.
I am Spark Notes. Where's my Spark Notes?
Dude, that got me through high school. Seriously.
When we were in high school, they called Cliff Notes.
Cliff Notes.
Spark must have bought them from Cliff or something. I don't know.
Mm.
All right, Kristen, book review. Tell us what you got.
Okay.
Title, what you've been reading, how it spoke to you, all that good stuff.
Okay, so I have been reading Having a Merry Heart in a Martha World, and I'm actually halfway through it. But I wanted to just read just a tiny bit of it. It's talking about depression and anxiety. I didn't realize that's kind of what I was, or what the book was going to get into. I wasn't sure where it was going to go. But as I've gotten further into it, it's talking about how Martha really suffered from depression and anxiety, and a lot of the way that she went to Jesus, when he came with the whole Lazarus thing, the whole way that she presented to him was all through emotion. Like, she was very outward in her anxiety and nervousness and worry. So as I get further into it, it talks about her transformation. And so I wanted to read a little bit about that, because I know I've talked about depression and things like that here on the podcast. But it says, "But I'd like to focus on the changes we see in John 11, for they paint a picture of a woman changed by a teachable heart. First, Martha left a house filled with guests and hurried to meet Jesus. This was a woman who used to be obsessed about entertaining. What would make her leave a house full of company? Making that even stranger is the fact that Martha was most likely the firstborn. She was accustomed to being the strong one. She'd held the family together before, and in the middle of this overwhelming grief, surely she would feel the need to hold it together again. But when Jesus arrived in Bethany, instead of holding down the fort, Martha threw aside her obligations and ran outside to meet her master. Lord, Martha said to Jesus in John 11:21, if you have been here, my brother would not have died. Her words dripped with grief and confusion. And the question was asked, what was different with Martha? And the whole thing is that she finally got to the point where she had faith. That was the thing that was different about Martha. And it says, I think we get a new heart from the Lord the same way that Martha did, by being teachable. And being teachable, in essence, involves three things. Number one, being willing to listen. Number two, acting on what we hear. And number three, responding to discipline. So that's basically a gist of what I've been reading through in this book. So.
That's good.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Noah, what about you? What do you got?
Yeah. So I've been waiting for this final book review for like 3 months. So I'm so excited. I even took notes.
Get
so
it.
I'm probably not going to read a ton of them. This was more personal notes, but
Yeah.
as we said early in the year, my first book I was reading this year was All Things New by John Eldridge. And the basic premise of the book was exploring the idea of what does God really mean when he says in Revelation, behold, I am making all things new.
Right.
Which is why the book is titled All Things New. And really starts off with this idea of hope. And after reading this book, which I finished it today, actually I saved the last 2 chapters for today so they would be fresh. I had never thought about hope that much. I don't think a lot of, after thinking about it, I haven't heard it spoken of a lot in the church in my entire adult Christian life and student life. We hear a lot about faith, we hear a lot about love, but we don't hear hope kind of talked about as much.
It's almost exactly what I just spoke on
Yep.
tonight at the
Yeah.
Methodist home
That's
banquet.
pretty cool.
Interesting.
You just tied that in.
Yeah.
You just
The
tied it
Lord
all
works in
together.
mysterious ways, y'all.
Because I said almost the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I even quoted 1 Corinthians 13 where it says there's faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these is love. Where we often always talk about faith, and we always talk about love,
because it says the greatest.
but we hardly ever speak of hope.
Hope.
But
Yeah.
yet there's so much power in
Yes.
the word hope.
And that is exactly what this book is about, is what is our hope? And when we say our hope is in Jesus, what does that really mean? And it begins to explore this idea of it's not just the fact that he has died for us and died for our sins and we are saved. That is a part of it. But there's also a very important part that is often overlooked, and that is the restoration of the earth. And he talks about this idea of, where is our eternal home? What does that really mean? And really just comes out and says, the Bible doesn't really talk about heaven as our eternal home, especially in Revelation and in the prophetic books. And in Revelation, it talks about, God's going to come and he's going to restore the earth, and he's going to bring down his holy city, New Jerusalem, and he's going to make his dwelling place with his people. And there's this awesome verse, I believe it's in Revelations 21. And this whole book, just over the months that I've been reading it, has just really opened my eyes to the fact that what sustained the early church and the disciples after Christ left was their hope of what was coming. And they talk about that a lot, but we often just kind of gloss over it and just don't really think much about it. But when you sit and look at it, they had this unwavering hope, this zeal for something that was coming. And often what they said was coming was Christ was coming back, not that they were just going to him and not doing anything for all eternity, which is what I feel like a lot of people think heaven is going to be like. I remember early in my faith not really thinking of heaven more than just church pews and eternally singing to God. But John goes farther to say Scripture doesn't really say that. It talks about a great, banquet and a feast, and he talks about that for a lot and how he kind of dreams a little bit of what that's going to look like. Obviously, he doesn't say this is outright, this is what it's going to be like. This is more of his personal thoughts and what he feels like God has been sharing with him, and encourages all of the readers to do the same. Ask God to show you what this looks like, what he wants to show you. And he begins to talk about this kind of image that C.S. Lewis puts in one of the later Narnia books about how after all this stuff has happened, everyone's gathered together and they're just telling these great tales of what has happened and celebrating and laughing together. And he said, I wonder what it will be like when we're all at the grand feast together and Moses comes and tells us about the Israelites crossing the Red Sea and being chased by the Egyptians and the plagues in Egypt. Or what will Jesus' mother Mary have to say about Jesus' early childhood life? Right. What will Adam and Eve bashfully say as they argued about the names of the animals in Genesis? Right. Just these simple things, but these really cool, intimate things that really have opened my heart up to the idea of more intimacy with God through hope.
That's it.
And then he just goes on. And what really struck me, there was something that really struck me in chapter 8. These were my notes after reading it. He talks about, in Revelations 21, 2 through 3, I don't have the exact verse quoted, but this was kind of my thoughts after reading it. In the end, God will come out of heaven and dwell with us. He will be with us in full connection once again. He will live with us. We will walk hand in hand with the Father again, and we will reign with him forever. And the early believers held this hope as a core part of their faith, and that is what pushed them through times of persecution, was that this was not all that there was. Right. And that's kind of the main reason he wrote this book. Was he starts it out with, so how's your hope doing these days? And talks about all this horrible stuff that has just happened to his own family this past year, to his sons and their wives this past year, and then all of the, different natural disasters. I think he wrote it in early 2017, so a lot of the natural disasters were happening, and was just there has to be something more to hope than just that this is it. That's right. And, it has just been honestly very timely. I feel like the Lord put this book in my life at the really right time.
That's awesome.
And I could sit here forever and talk about each single chapter, but if you have a chance, read it for yourself. It's very great, and it's just honestly given me just a new outlook on what hope is. And I have a new appreciation for what Christ is doing for us in our lives here, and then what is going to come later.
That's right.
That's good.
Pastor Ken and a couple other guys are going out. 3 or 4 guys from our church are going out to the Wild at Heart camp this weekend in Denver. They leave Thursday and come back Monday. Yeah, really cool. So I'll tell you, I preached one time and I posed the question, because I was preaching on Jesus' humanity and how we can relate to the humanity of Jesus, because that was the whole point of him coming to earth. And I asked the question one time, I wonder if Jesus got spankings when he was a child. Did he pull his dad's hammer down off of the shelf, and Joseph had told him 4 times to leave it alone, and it fell and hit him on the foot, and so they had to scold Jesus. And you would think, I blasphemed the Pope in front of the entire Catholic Church. There were a couple of people that were just appalled.
He's perfect. Why would he ever do that?
That I could mention the humanity of Jesus when he was a 3-year-old toddler. We just don't grasp that. There's more to this picture than the 3 years that we saw him in. One time he got lost. Literally, he left his family, and they left him in the temple for 3 days. And it's that. What 12-year-old or 11-year-old could not relate to that?
I know, we have one.
Yeah, we had to go find ours a few times.
Shoot, Jesus isn't in the wagon. We got to
Right.
turn back around.
Oh my gosh. Who?
Like
I thought
3
you,
days
lost
later.
could you
Jesus.
imagine? Could you imagine an argument between Mary and Joseph? I thought you had him.
No, I thought
No,
you.
I thought you had him. No, and that's my Mary voice, by the way. And they're
Mary
like,
voice.
no, you had him. No, you had him. No, I think Aunt Martha had him. And it's like, where's Jesus? 3 days. That means they drove a day and a half out and a day
They
and a
drove?
half back. Yeah.
Yeah, they drove the wagon.
They drove. It was a
The donkey.
DeLorean. They went 88 miles an hour.
I
Oddly
wonder if
enough.
they just didn't really try. They knew he'd be alright, so they're like, eh.
Yeah,
We'll-
well, then
we'll
they
just
found
chill
him
for a day.
teaching. Then they
Jesus
found him
aight.
teaching the teachers of it all, so that's kind of cool. Evan, what about you? What do you got? You going to end your book review
Yeah. Well,
of the Gatsby?
yeah. I started on the Gatsby and the Great Gatsby, and it's a really cool book. Just how it's just survived nearly 100 years now. Like it was released in the 1920s.
It's really cool.
And it's just stood the test of time. It's just still applied to our culture today.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of left off around the point of where Gatsby is still chasing after that woman they meet for the first time in like 15 years or something like that. And they're just both shook. And he just gets lost in chasing after her and chasing after the greed and the wealth. And he's just such a rich guy. He's like involved in like the drug trade, the everything, and he's so much looking after her that he had such a future that he could have. He was such lost in the past about that woman, about those physical things that he could have just done so many crazy things
Right.
with the power, the
resource.
influence he had in life, and it was just a really powerful book. And spoiler alert, if it's a 100-year-old book, so if you don't already know, he
Yeah.
dies.
Oh, you ruined it for me.
Yeah, and he gets shot at the end by this in a chain of events where the husband kind of convinces a guy to kill him because he thinks that he's cheating on his wife, and it's a long story, and it's just a really depressing but true book about our society and just how much we're influenced by these object things.
Yeah.
These
And how
material
much our
things.
past just
That's
will
good.
It catches up to you.
yeah, it'll
Yeah.
eat at you.
Yep.
That's true. That's good.
That's good. Well, I want to talk about God on Mute. That's the book. That's one of the books I'm reading, and the book really, when I first started reading it, I thought it was more like what happens when God doesn't answer your prayers, and that's really what the book is about for the most part. But it also dives into this idea of how we don't clearly understand that age-old question, like, why do bad things happen? Like, why doesn't God just snap his fingers and all bad things cease to exist? And so it's kind of a really cool look at that whole concept of why bad things happen. Not just to good people, but to anyone. Like, why does bad
Yeah.
things happen? Why doesn't an omnipotent, omnipotent God just go, I'm just not going to let bad things happen anymore? And so, and I got some feelings on that, but I'm going to read you a couple parts of this that I've highlighted that really spoke to me. And one of them, he starts talking about Job, because that's kind of the archetype of why did this happen to Job? He was a man after God's own heart. He was a man of upright faith, upstanding in his community. And it says that, I'd seen this and read this, but it never really hit me until I read this book, that the answer to the question why, literally God answers it in Job as, just look at me. Like, don't look at all this other stuff around you, but look at me. And you see it in Job in chapter 42, verse 5. It says, and this is a really cool thing, like, because you get this picture of Job like he loves God, he loves God, he loves God. He's a man of upright faith. He's got great faith, and he keeps coming back. But in 42:5 it says, my ears have heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you, cries Job in awe, as if his sufferings had simply evaporated. And it's like you understand that Job even himself admitted up until this point it basically been kind of head knowledge. Like, I knew of God, my ears have heard of him, but now that I've gone through this suffering, I see God.
Mm.
And that's crazy to think about. And it's in this one line in the book says, the book of Job is therefore both the most frustrating and enlightening treatment of an unanswered prayer in the Bible. Because God's solution to so much misery is merely and ultimately to reveal who he is, his greatness. And man, that's powerful. And I know when you're going through something that sucks, like that's a hard thing to say to somebody. Well, God is just revealing himself to you. But if you make it through your suffering to the other side, I've never heard anybody made it through their suffering who believes in God. And at the end they go, man, I ain't learned nothing from that. Like that just sucked, period. You always learn something. I'll read this other part, like, because what happens then you got this guy named Kushner, who is a theist, and he believes in like God, but not like our God kind of thing. And he comes at God from one angle. And Carl Jung, who is a psychologist, wrote a book about this whole thing. Like he'd read Job, and he psychoanalyzed it. And he wrote this book called An Answer to Job, and he basically psychoanalyzes God and comes back and says, basically God is just mean. And the writer of God on Mute kind of takes on both of those things, and he says, we've seen that some theists like Kushner seek to reconcile their belief in God's love with their experience of suffering by limiting their expectations of God's power. Basically, God loves us, but he simply can't do everything we need him to do. That's why our prayers are unanswered. Like, that's one end of the spectrum. It says God is all powerful, or God is powerful and he loves us, but he can't do everything. Like, there's no way he can satisfy all your needs. And then the other side of that spectrum, other people insist by definition that God is omnipotent. So instead of questioning his power like Kushner, they doubt his goodness. Just like Carl Jung did when he concluded in his Analysis of Job by questioning the sincerity of God's love. He says God is guilty. These people say in response to suffering, the reason he doesn't answer our prayers is that he is not good. And so the two ends of the spectrum is that God is not good. That and you hear this a lot, like, why God? Why does bad things happen? If God was a good God, he would just snap his fingers and get it gone. And on the other end is he can't do it. Like, those are the two ends of the spectrum. When in reality, there's a middle. There's a middle. And this is my interjection here. This is what I've kind of gleaned from this whole thing, is that we have a tough time reconciling the fact that we both have a God. We have a God, not both have a God, that we have a God that is both outside of our continuum plus ever present in the moment. He's both and. He's outside of our continuum, which means he is not bound by our time and our space and our continuum. So he sees outside of all of that. But simultaneously, he is both interjected into the moment. And so bad things happen to us in the moment, and we have a God and a Holy Spirit that walks with us in the moment. And it's the same God, and the same God at the same time is outside of our continuum, so he knows what the outcome of suffering is. And it's not just, well, I just want bad things to happen. There's always a lesson in the suffering. Even if it seems so harsh, there's always a lesson in the suffering. And if you have faith and belief in the fact that God is good, and that God is love, and that God is omnipowerful and omnipresent and omnipotent, and he's outside of our continuum and simultaneously present in our moment, then you know that God is going to work it out, and that good things are going to happen of it. It, like I said, though, it sucks in the moment. Like, nobody wants suffering. There's not one person at this table that's going to pray for suffering.
No.
But yet, it's kind of like patience. Nobody wants to pray for it.
No.
But yet, God is so good that even in our suffering, there's reason. And so that's what this book is about, like talking about what is it that, what can we learn from the silent moments about God?
That's good.
Yeah, it's a good book.
That's a whole nother topic. Why does evil exist?
Yeah, why does evil exist?
That could be a whole night.
Yep, no question. Thank you for joining us. This has been Pursuit Table Talk, episode 12, part 1. We decided to cut our discussion right there so that we didn't go too long in a weekly episode. But join us next week as we dive into our hot topic for episode 12, part 2. We're going to be talking about social media, the positives and the negatives, and how in today's student culture and culture in general, we can use them in a positive way. And we out.
I wish Mother was here.
This is the Candyland Hour for all good children. The orchestra will play our theme song.
You know that song, don't you?
Sure I do.
Well, then sing it.
Hot, 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 hot,